Welcome to our ultimate guide on roses, from planting to selling. We'll cover rose biology, planting, pruning, pests, propagation, post-harvest and even market tips for buyers and sellers. Whether you grow roses at home or sell them commercially, this video has everything you need for stunning blooms and healthy profits. Subscribe for more gardening and floriculture tips. Rose biology and major varieties. Roses belong to the Rosaceae family, genus Rosa. A rose plant typically has prickly canes. The thorns on roses are actually hooked prickles, and alternate pinnate leaves, usually 5 to 7 leaflets. The classic rose flower has 5 sepals and 5 petals, though cultivated varieties often have many more petals. After flowering, roses produce a berry-like fruit called a hip, often red or orange. Rose hips are rich in vitamin C. Roses are categorized broadly into species, wild, old garden, and modern groups. Wild species roses are original, often single-flowered, 5 petals, with prominent yellow stamens and bloom in early summer. Examples include native North American species like rugosa rose, R. rugosa, or Carolina rose, R. carolina. Old garden roses were introduced before 1867. They tend to be very fragrant and include classes like Gallica, Alba, Damask, centifolia, cabbage roses, and moss roses. These often bloom once per season and come in many growth forms. Modern roses, post-1867, include hybrid tea, floribunda, grandiflora, polyantha, miniature, and various shrub or landscape roses. Hybrid teas have large, long-stemmed blossoms, often double petals, produced one per stem, making them ideal as cut flowers. They bloom repeatedly from early summer to frost, but generally need winter protection and are prone to black spot and mildew. Floribundas and grandifloras were bred from hybrid teas. Floribundas are shorter, 2 to 3 feet, with clustered blooms and continuous flowering, while grandifloras are taller, 3 to 6 feet, with large clusters and repeat blooms. Polyanthas, crosses of multiflora and tea roses, are compact shrubs, approximately 2 feet, with sprays of small blooms. Miniatures range from 6 inches to approximately 3 feet tall, often own root, and are very hardy. Shrub, landscape roses are a key category. They are generally easy care, disease-resistant varieties meant for garden beds. Modern series like Knockout and Easy Elegance exemplify this. They have continuous blooms, hardy growth, and require minimal sprays. A subgroup called buck roses, bred at Iowa State, are noted for cold hardiness and vigor. Climbing roses have long, arching canes, 5 to 20 plus feet, trained on supports. They don't truly climb by themselves but benefit from trellises or fences. Many climbers bloom heavily in late spring, with sporadic rebloom later, and must be pruned on older canes for best flowering. Tree roses, standards, are grafted bushes atop tall stems, often grown in containers or as focal points. Figure, a modern hybrid rose bloom, double, fragrant. Roses fall into groups like shrub, hybrid tea, floribunda, species, climber, old garden, each with distinct growth, bloom habit, and care requirements. 2. Planting and soil preparation. Successful roses start with proper siting and planting. Choose a location with full sun, at least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily, and excellent drainage. Many soils must be amended. Mix in 2 to 4 inches of organic matter, compost, aged manure, peat, to the planting bed and work it in 12 inches deep. Soil pH should be slightly acidic, 6.0 to 6.5. For container or bare root roses, plant at the correct depth. The bud union, graft point, should sit just at or above soil level. Own root roses, not grafted, can be planted a bit deeper. Fill the hole with good soil, firming gently around roots, and water in thoroughly. After planting, apply a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch, bark, straw, pine needles, around the base, keeping it a few inches from the stem. Mulch conserves moisture, moderates soil temperature, and suppresses weeds. Timing. In most climates, plant roses in spring or fall. Their root roses are typically planted in late winter/early spring, just before leaf out. Container-grown roses can be planted in spring through early summer. In mild regions, fall planting is possible, but avoid frosts. When transplanting established roses, do so while dormant, late winter/early spring or fall, digging a generous root ball and replanting immediately. 3. Watering and fertilizing. Roses need consistent moisture. Aim to provide about 1 inch of water per week during the growing season. This may be delivered by rain or irrigation. In hot, dry weather, water deeply once or twice a week, slowly soaking the root zone, rather than frequent shallow waterings. Soaker hoses or drip irrigation are ideal, as they wet the soil without wetting foliage, reducing disease risk. If using sprinklers, water in the morning, so leaves dry quickly. Adjust frequency for soil type. Sandy soils need more frequent watering than clay soils. Keep newly planted roses well watered for the first 6 to 8 weeks to help establish roots. Fertilize roses regularly during the growing season. Established roses benefit from a balanced fertilizer, such as 10-10-10, applied when new growth begins in spring. A typical application is about 1/2 to 1 cup per plant, placed in a ring 6 to 18 inches from the base and lightly worked into the soil. Water after fertilizing. Repeat applications depend on the type of rose. Single bloomers, species, old roses, may need only 1 spring feed. Repeat blooming modern roses, hybrid tea, floribunda, etc., typically need additional feeding, once around mid-bloom, early summer, and again in mid-July. Stop fertilizing by mid to late summer, around 6 to 8 weeks before first expected frost, to avoid encouraging tender new growth that would not harden off. Organic options include compost, well-rotted manure, or alfalfa meal as mulch, releases nitrogen and growth stimulant triacontanol. Some gardeners use Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate, early in spring to promote green foliage. Whatever the source, ensure roses get micronutrients too, iron, magnesium, etc., either from complete fertilizers or soil tests. 4. Pruning and training. Pruning improves air circulation, shape, and bloom quality. When? Prune most roses in late winter or early spring, just as winter dormancy ends and before vigorous new growth starts. In mild climates, pruning can be done when the last hard frost has passed. For roses that were covered for winter, remove coverings as the ground thaws. How? Start by removing dead, diseased, or damaged canes. Cut back to healthy tissue. Then thin the plant by cutting out weak, crossing, or inward-growing canes, opening the center of the bush. Aim for a roughly vase-like shape. For hybrid teas and grandifloras, prune back the remaining canes by about 1/3 to half of their height, cutting just above an outward-facing bud. For shrub roses, light pruning, removing old wood and shaping, is often enough. Climbing roses should be pruned after flowering, usually late spring, removing some old canes to encourage new canes for next year's blooms. Tie long climber canes to supports horizontally to increase flowering. Tips: use sharp, clean pruning shears. Wear gloves as rose canes are prickly. Disinfect tools between plants to prevent disease spread. In late winter pruning, cut at a 45-degree angle about 1/4 inch above an outward-facing bud. Also remove any suckers, shoots from below the graft on grafted roses, as soon as they appear. Deadheading, summer pruning, is also important. Regularly remove spent blooms, pinch or cut just above a 5-leaflet leaf to encourage repeat flowering on modern roses. Leave spent blooms on once blooming roses, species, old garden, so they form ornamental hips and don't waste energy on rebloom. 5. Pest and disease management. Roses can suffer from various pests and diseases. Common insects, aphids, spider mites, thrips, whiteflies, scale insects, rose slugs, sawfly larvae, caterpillars, and Japanese beetles. Aphids, green, pink, or black small soft insects, cluster on new shoots and buds, sucking sap and sometimes spreading viruses. Spider mites cause stippled leaves, thrips damage buds/flowers, scraping and sucking cells, and Japanese beetles chew foliage and petals. Prevention and organic control. Encourage beneficials, ladybugs, lacewings, by planting pollinator-friendly flowers nearby. Hose off aphids with a strong stream of water. Apply insecticidal soap or horticultural oil sprays for soft-bodied pests, aphids, mites, whiteflies. These are least disruptive to beneficial insects. For heavy infestations, handpick Japanese beetles or use traps. Neem oil sprays can suppress many pests and some fungal issues. Avoid overuse of high-nitrogen fertilizers, as lush new growth attracts aphids. Diseases. The most notorious is black spot, a fungus. Black, irregular spots on leaves, followed by yellowing and drop. Black spot thrives in humid, wet conditions. Prevent it by keeping foliage dry, drip irrigation, morning watering, and cleaning up fallen leaves in autumn. Powdery mildew, white powder on leaves, appears in warm days/cool nights, spring or fall. Rust, orange pustules under leaves, and botrytis blight can also occur. Control. Good air circulation is key. Prune to thin canes and avoid crowding. Apply approved fungicides if needed, copper or sulfur sprays, organic options, or synthetic fungicides, chlorothalonil, myclobutanil, mancozeb, as a preventative from early season. Spray in early spring before leaf out and every 7 to 14 days during the season if disease pressure is high. Organic formulas like biofungicides, trichoderma, bacillus strains, and home remedies, for example baking soda plus horticultural oil, may help moderate infections. Always follow label instructions. Water and sanitation. Water. At ground level to avoid wetting leaves. Rake and dispose of diseased leaves and buds. Do not compost them to reduce overwintering spores. Mulch after cleaning to create a barrier against soil-borne spores. Consider summer mulches and botrytis preventive sheets in storage for cut roses. 6. Seasonal care calendar. Roses require different care in each season. The timelines below are Northern Hemisphere examples. Adjust for your climate, for example earlier in South, later in North. Spring. Remove any covers or piles over roses once severe cold has passed, but before bud break. Prune plants, clean up debris, and apply mulch and first fertilizer. Plant new roses, potted or bare root, from early spring until buds swell. Transplant older roses before new growth starts. Summer. Deadhead repeat bloomers continuously to encourage more flowers. Pinch side buds, disbudding, on hybrid teas if you desire larger individual blooms. Water deeply during heat waves, approximately once per week. Fertilize again after the first bloom flush, midsummer, for hybrid tea/floribunda types. Monitor for pests, aphids, mites, Japanese beetles, and diseases, black spot, rust, and treat promptly. Summer is also ideal for taking cuttings, semi-hardwood, for propagation. Fall, stop deadheading by midsummer, allow hips to form as the season ends. Continue to water regularly until the ground freezes. Well-watered bushes overwinter better. After first frost, rake up fallen leaves and spend a session cleaning the bed. Remove obvious diseased canes, but save major pruning for spring. Start protecting tender varieties in late fall. Mound soil or compost 10 to 12 inches around the base. Add branches or straw for insulation. Winter. For very cold climates, check that protective mulch/cover remains in place on roses that need it, hybrid teas, etc. Record any plant losses. This is the time to order new roses and plan next season's garden. By late winter, prepare to remove covers as growth starts. 7. Propagation methods. Roses can be propagated 4 main ways: cuttings, layering, division, and rarely seeds. Cuttings, the easiest and most effective for home gardeners. Use semi-hardwood cuttings in mid to late summer, July to August. Take 6 to 8 inch pieces of healthy new growth, strip lower leaves, dip in rooting hormone, and stick 2 to 3 buds deep into moist rooting medium, sand/peat mix. Keep shaded and moist until roots form, several weeks. Dormant hardwood cuttings from last year's canes can also be taken in winter with similar method. Layering. Select a long, flexible cane in spring. Wound or scrape a section of cane, bend it down, and cover part of it with soil, leaving the tip exposed. Peg it down if needed. Over weeks, a new plant will root at the buried section. Then sever it from the parent plant. This works well for shrubs with arching canes. Division. Some roses, not grafted, produce suckers at the base. In early spring, you can dig up a section containing at least 1 cane and roots, then replant this as a new plant. Only own root shrub and species roses, those that freely sucker, are amenable to this. Seed. Growing roses from seed is uncommon. Seeds, from hips, may not breed true to type and typically require months of cold stratification. They are used by breeders, but not practical for most gardeners. Propagation sources. Iowa State University Extension notes that cuttings, especially semi-hardwood summer cuttings, are generally easiest. 8. Post-harvest handling and vase life extension. For cut roses, for example florist's roses, proper post-harvest care is crucial to maximize vase life. Cut stems when buds are just starting to unfurl, sepals opening. Too early buds won't open fully. Immediately recut stems underwater at a sharp 45-degree angle to prevent air embolisms and remove any leaves below the waterline. Use floral preservative, packets of sugar, acidifier, bleach, etc. in vase water, or DIY. Cool water mixed with a little lemon-lime soda for sugar and acid, and a drop of bleach. This nourishes blooms and inhibits bacteria. Keep roses in a cool, bright spot away from direct sun or heat. Change the water every 2 to 3 days. Recut stems and re-add preservative. Trim off any wilting or yellow leaves daily to reduce rot. Under good care, most cut roses can last 5 to 7 days in a vase. Commercial handling. After harvest, roses should be immediately hydrated in a bucket of clean water or a certified preservative solution. Cool storage, 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 90 to 95% humidity, greatly slows respiration and delays senescence. Flowers packaged for shipment should be kept cold, and boxes should be stored lying flat, not standing, to avoid stem breakage. Avoid high ethylene environments, no rotting fruit nearby, and allow any excess moisture on stems to dry before boxing to prevent botrytis fungus. Some growers use special hydration solutions, Floralife, pulsing with sugar and a biocide, and sachets that release chlorine dioxide in boxes to kill mold. In summary, cut in water, keep water clean, and